Hello, am I audible?
Hi. Yeah, you are audible. I have invited Saptarishi. It says he's unable to join.
Actually, even I was unable to request to join until you sent me the link.
Try
No, he's
sending
here.
them a link. Yeah, I
No,
think.
he's here.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey,
Hi. Am I audible?
Yeah,
yeah,
Yes,
you're
you
good.
are.
audible.
Okay, that's good.
Okay. So hello everyone. Hope you all are doing good. First of all, happy Pride Month to one and all. Thank you for being in this live today. So this live is an initiative by PSG Tech QC and online support system for sexual assault victims and the queer community of PSG College of Technology, Coimbatore, an online and offline space for queer people in Coimbatore, Girl Up Fembots, a regional chapter of the GU campaign and UN Foundation initiative in Coimbatore, empowering girls and women to be a force of gender equality and social change. And Global Leaders Forum, a student body organization based out of PSG College of Technology, established with the goal of inculcating leadership, innovation, and initiative among the youth. So today we welcome our speaker, Saptarshi Bairagi. Hi. Saptarshi is a queer research scholar doing pre-doctoral research in anthropology. Saptarshi is a gender-fluid, non-binary asexual person and prefers his, him, they, them as pronouns. He strongly is in opposition to the heteronormative caste-based society and raised their voice to smash the Brahminical patriarchy. Saptarshi also called and addressed himself as openly Indian first Dalit queer anthropologist. Welcome.
Thank you, PhD Tech and Coimbatore and Garlab and your communities, your collectives to invite me over here. I'm glad to represent myself and my community as my community or my caste as well as I mentioned that I am a Dalit queer anthropologist. So here I'm mentioning my caste as well as my gender and sexual identity because I believe that I am one of the representative of my caste as well as my gender and sexual community. So that's it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for being here today. So, the first question for you is that generally there is an expectation that everyone feels sexual attraction and sexual desire, and that these feelings begin in adolescence itself. So, how has it been for you during your teenage years?
Well, I should say that before that, one thing works, that is realization what you are, whether you are gay or a bisexual or transsexual or a pansexual or a asexual, what kind of sexual orientation you are having, that is a part of your realization towards your attraction. So, but in a society where we are having a caste-based heteronormative society, where we are having heterosexual norms, like you have to marry a girl, being a boy, you have to marry a girl and then have sex to produce children, to produce offspring. So that heterosexual norms is founded over the sex. You should, like, the thing is sex, having sex. But to some extent, when I start my journey as a queer, in the beginning I used to call myself as a homosexual or gay person. I used to have lots of sexual interaction I had with people. But the thing is, I never felt comfortable. I used to think like there is something missing, or there is something which I am not feeling. Later, I realized when I being a part of asexual people, asexual community, I get like having touch over there with them. Then I get to know and get to realize, no, there is something which is beyond sexuality. And what is that? That was my the first time I had a question towards myself and towards the society. Like, I'm not feeling comfortable to do have sex with someone, then what I am, like, I am having any kind of problem or like disease, then what it is. And then I get to know from AVEN, Asexual Visibility Network, Education Network, that is there is something called asexuality or asexual spectrum. Then I read about those things and I get to understand, or I completely understood myself that is, no, I am not a part of sexual community, but I am a part of the spectrum asexuality. So it is like last year when I get to realize that I am asexual. I'm not a sexual person because I'm not that much active in sex. I'm not feeling comfortable to do sex. So that's made me to understand that you are not the part of sexuality or allosexual. You are the part of asexual spectrum. So that was the first time I realized. And now the more I am reading asexual spectrum, the more I am getting the polymath or getting fluid in this spectrum. In the beginning, I used to thought like, oh, okay, I might be a gray sexual. But the more I am reading and the more I am realizing myself, I realize that no, I am not a gray asexual. Rather, I am a demi-asexual, or rather, I'm a person who is asflax or asflax too, because sexuality is a fluid thing. Sexual orientation or sexual attraction is a fluid thing. It can be romantic attraction, it can be sexual attraction, whatever that is a fluid. It is not something which you can levelize. Yes, there we do levelize, but it is much more beyond the levels. So presently, I believe a person who comes under the asexual spectrum, but still I am finding my true label. But sometimes I don't want to find that as well, because I like to talk, like I like to tell that I am a asexual queer person, a queer asexual.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
Okay.
So when we say asexuality is a spectrum, could you please throw some light on the different layers adhere to it?
Well, first of all, if you look at logo of asexuality, like or flag of asexuality, every sexuality does have their own flag. So you can see a triangle, a AVEN triangle, like the triangle. So in that triangle, the least part is colored as a black, and the more you going upper side, this is going fading, like black to gray to gray to gray, 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 gray. The least is white. So this spectrum is having, I should not say it's having also layer, also it is not having layers, but it is like having different kind of cloudiness. Someone is talking that he or she or they might be a sex positive asexual. Someone is not. Someone can be a sex repulsive. There is called like romanticism, which can be a part of asexual, which is a part of asexuality. Like you are not sexually attracted to someone, but you are having romantic attraction to that person. So that means you are romantic. You can be homoromantic, you can be biromantic, you can be pan-romantic, you can be heteroromantic, you can be demi-romantic, you can be aromantic as well. Aromantic love is that where you are not feeling any kind of romanticism as well. An asexual person can be a romantic person as well. What the person is not feeling sexually attraction as well as romantic attraction, but there is love. Okay, because love is something which is beyond sexual attraction, which is beyond romantic attraction. So that's how 377 as well discriminalized. When the judgment told it's about love. It's not about the sex, it's about love. So it is like love, amore vincit omnia, love conquers all. So in this layer, you can find, like as I have told you, aromanticness, demi-romanticness. In demi-romanticness, if you are not having a psychological or mental attachment with a person, you might not feel any romantic attraction or romantic attachment with that person. This is called demi-romantic. In demisexuality, unless or until you are not having any kind of sexual, like mental attachment, you are not feeling to have sex. That is, in sex repulsive asexual, like you're not feeling asexual, like in feeling to see any kind of sexual activities as well. Like in sex positive asexual, where I call myself as a sex positive asexual, that is, I might don't like sexual activities, don't like that pleasure, but after having a relation or after having a love things with my partner, I might try to fulfill his desires, like to give him pleasure. Okay, that is called sex positive asexual. Like you are having, I should not say problem, but you don't want to have that pleasure for yourself, but you want to give pleasure to your partner. So that is part of sex positive asexuality. Then it is a vistas. Why it is a cloud? Because every person in this spectrum might have different experiences. Okay, different thing. And every day, every new day, we are getting every new terms regarding this. Like 2 years earlier, there was no such terms called grey sexuality. There is no such terms as Asplax2. Asplax2, in Asplax2, what happened, or Asplax, like you might feel asexual or you might feel allosexual sometime, or you're not feeling like that. It depends on your sexual orientation or sexuality. So these things are are revolving from time to time, because as we know that we are born this way, and another thing is it is like your sexual orientation, it is still a part of under research of genetics, with having the interaction with social sciences. So as we know in genetics, like what is phenotype? Phenotype is gene interaction with environment is expressing your phenotype. So in that context, our sexual orientation is having a multi-genetic or multiple allistic trait. So we don't know which genes are working for which sexuality, but there is genes who are working for this. So as well as this asexuality is also a part of that. It is also a kind of your sexual orientation. But people are having asphobia. Like our laws are asphobe, our marriage equality law is asphobe. Like in law, like if there is a quote in law, in our Indian law, that is, if your partner is unable to have sex with you, then you can file a divorce case against that partner. What does that mean? It is completely asphobic law. Asexual might not interested, the asexual will not interested to have sex. So you need to understand that. Rather, you are just filing a case against that person to get divorce from that person. Again, they are putting these asexual people as sexual celibacy, or like called as impotent. No, importantness and asexuality are not same thing. I am a sexual person. That is my sexual orientation. But I am completely fine with my sexual organ. I can reproduce children. That's true. That's how, like, people having this kind of myth regarding asexual spectrum.
Yes, exactly like you said. So, going on the way, what are other misconceptions and stigma that the AS community face in India, considering the fact that this is a very highly heteronormative society?
Well, there are very like lots of things. At first, whatever I told you about the law, in law there is no like the divorce law itself like asphobic law. Then again, there is no such law that people cannot force you for marriage. It is like it's your own choice to develop marriage or not, but there is a societal influence or pressure over you, familial pressure over you to marry someone. There should be a law that when this kind of pressure is coming towards me, I can use those law. That should be over there. Again, the thing is, as people are thinking this is a disease, asexuality is disease. So if I come out as asexual to my, if someone's coming out to their family as asexual, their family can taking them towards a gynecologist, a sexologist, or hormone, or like endocrinologist. Like maybe hormonal koi problem ho raha hai, like there can be some problem regarding hormone, there can be some problem regarding sex. People are thinking these are myth, these are myth. Again in some cases some of my friends suffered, that is they came out to their family that they are asexual, and what happened, their family member raped them. Bhai, like it was like, okay, then let me have sex with you, then you will be cured. No, this is kind of societal like oppression to the SS community. Then again like there is something, sometimes people won't have some marriage of convenience, because they are thinking, okay, like, okay, you are not interested in having sex, that means you might not have experienced a good sex. Do have sex with me, you will feel fond about sex. That is again a myth. Look, that I am not interested in sex, that is my part of my sexual orientation. You need to understand. It's not like that I haven't a good sex, that doesn't mean I become asexual. It's not like that. The way you become homosexual, the way we become heterosexual, the way you become whatever sexuality you are having, that way I become asexual. But people are not understanding that. Even 2 or 3 days earlier, there is a biggest Facebook group called Arian. I think you people know about it. Arian, or 1 million LGBTQ in Facebook. There is a page or group. That is a group. Sorry, I got like I have seen a post where the post is saying that what these asexual people are the part of LGBTQ. At the beginning it is LGBT, then LGBTQ, now it is LGBTQIA plus. Why the people are part of LGBTQ? They are not even sexual. Why they are part of LGBTQ? So they are not understanding the meaning of queer. They are not understanding what queer is. They are still having the heteropatriarchal normative thoughts over their mind, that sexual normativity. Like being a queer, you need to have a sexual life. You need to have sex. You need to have sex. So that's why they're excluding this asexual community from their community, from the entire queer community. That is an exclusiveness. That is not an inclusivity. You're getting my point. So this is again an operation regarding the myth. The myth is they're having regarding queer community, that queer is having highly sexuality or highly sexual things in their life. So these asexual people are not the part of queer community because they are not even sexual. They are not even doing sex. So this again a heteronormative thing. Because being an asexual person, I am breaking the heteronormativity. I'm breaking the laws of heteronormativity, where the main thing is the reproduction. If I'm not doing reproduction, that is my personal choice. I don't want to be reproduced anyone. Like that, in my 90 years old, I might not feel like that way I can raise a child. I might feel like I am itself myself a child. You got my point? It can be. Or if you are talking about like child rearing, there is surrogacy, or there is, I should not say surrogacy, there is lots of children. We can adopt them. We can adopt them. And of course, there can be surrogacy, or like test tube baby. That can be possible over there. Why I need to have sex to reproduce? That is the part.
Very well said. Over to you, Fatima.
Thank you. So, my question is, how does being an ace influence the way you approach relationships, whether romantic or not romantic?
Pardon, I'm unable to. Some network problem was there. Can you repeat it again, please?
Okay. How does being an ace influence the way you approach relationships, whether they are romantic or not romantic?
Yeah, of course. See, I told myself I'm asexual, and I am a romantic person as well. Like I am a bi-romantic asexual person. So that means I love romanticism. I do love romantic stuff with my partner. So of course there can be a romantic relationship. But the thing is, the person needs to understand whether I do like sex or not. If the person is accepting my asexuality, my sexuality, then that is completely fine. Like that, there can be. Then if the person is hypersexual or highly sexual, allosexual person, there can be a problem. Okay, there can be a problem. But in my personal life, presently I am single person. but the thing is, I used to have a relation with a sexual person. Yes, that was a very good relationship, and we used to be romantic. Or lots of romanticism was there. In fact, if you look into the literature, we are having this representation of asexuality as well. We are talking about platonicity. What is platonicity? In platonic relation, we are talking about only platonic love, not talking about any kind of sexual activity. But the love is there. So that can be a part of asexual spectrum. Again, I myself as a researcher, I call that the entire Bhakti movement in Bengal. The movement calls Sri Chaitanya movement. Like when the Prabhupada Sri Chaitanya came, Mahaprabhu Sri Chaitanya came to the land and talking about Krishna. So that Bhakti movement and Vaishnava movement can be a part of queer movement. A bhakt is merging herself, himself or themselves with a God, with a Bhagavan. So that is a mutual relationship between Bhakt and Bhagwan. Okay, in Hinduism. I'm not going to Islam because there can be some other reasons I'm not going, but I'm talking about Hinduism. So that can be part of queer movement. Of course, that should be. Again, the love they are describing, the platonic love they are describing between Bhakt and Bhagwan is something which is beyond sexual love. Is something which can be part of asexual spectrum. There might be other asexual who might disagree with me, but my statement or my thinking is this can be a part of asexual love, or this can be part of romantic love as well. So in a way, I think Fatima, you can talk about more this like example in your own religion. We all can find this kind of element in our religion in a positive way. I think we all have these elements in our every religion.
Yes, I do agree that if with more discussions we can expand the scope on this. And my next question is, have you ever felt pressure to be interested in sex in a particular way or to engage in a relationship in a particular way? Do you feel any social pressure or internalized pressure before getting in terms with your sexuality?
Well, I should say I do have pressures from my family as well. Like it used to be. Right now, I don't have. Like, you know, like in the beginning when I came out as a person, as a sexual person, my family used to say, like, when you'll be old, then who will be there to look after you if you're not having any child? So that is again a pressure indirectly to marry a girl or to have sex with that girl to reproduce a child. So that is an indirect pressure. Again, I broke up I was in a toxic relationship, which relationship got broke up because I realized that I am asexual and the person was not accepting me that I am asexual. So that is again a mental pressure. After having breakup, I suffered. Or like when I started my journey as a queer person back in 2015, when I haven't discovered that I am asexual at that time, but still that feeling was in me, na. So that time the interaction I had with my partner, that is also giving mental pressure to me. Like the partner was asking about sexual interaction every day, but I am not feeling comfort to give that every day to that person because I'm not interested. So that is again a pressure I had. So right now I do have pressures, but the thing is, the more I come out, the more I am visible, the more I have to be tolerate to overcome all this pressure. Because like without tolerating, you cannot overcome. You have to overcome with your voice, and that will come from like much more toleration. I'm not asking you to compromise. I'm asking you to be a little bit more tolerant, to rise your voice, and you have to rise your voice against all these social problems that I think.
Next question is, considering the systemic oppression, especially in our country, that people face often, it's not easy for Dalits to their caste location, let alone one's gender or sexual expression. How difficult has it been for you?
Well, it was. See, in our time back in 2015, I was belong from a rural area, so it was so interesting. There was no grinder at that time. You people might know about what grinder and Tinder is. Tinder can be a dating app for inclusive for every gender, while grinder is only for, I should say, gay people, and more exclusively cisgender gay only. Grinder. So that time there is no such app called Tinder and Grinder in this rural area. So we used to have Facebook pages and we used to have fake IDs. What we have done, we used to log with that fake IDs and be in those LGBTQ dating groups, and then we contact with the people, having set some chats, then we fixed a place and to meet with the people. Again, having the fear to whether we are caught up by someone or not. That fear, whether we are discovered, whether we'll be discovered by someone or not. Again, that fear used to have in our mind that time. So in that time, in 2015 or 16, it was very hard to say someone that let's have sex. What we are doing right now in these days in Grindr, like you're just opening the Grindr and okay, this profile is very good, let's talk, and then we are messaging, hi babe, you're from, what you do like, what you don't, or like what you can do, let's meet, something. So this thing is very much easy in these days due to this capitalism or due to this technology. But this thing was not very much easier at that day. So in those days, what the thing is, in those restrictive society, whatever we used to found out at that time, we used to find out that time, we used to accept that. Whether the person is feminine or masculine, it's like I got a person who belongs to me. Just like that. Now these days, there is fame shaming, effeminate shaming in gay community. Oh my God, you're not masculine. I really don't like you. These kind of terms are coming from gay community to each other. So this thing was not that much prevalent at that time, which I used to. So in that time, finding someone is so difficult. Because I brought up in a village near Bangladesh, Indo-Bangladesh border, 100 kilometers away from Kolkata. So that is completely a rural Orthodox village. I moved to Delhi 2017 and I become merged myself with the bigger queer community. Then I discovered there is app called Tinder, there is app called Grindr to meet with people. Then in 2019, I discovered, or sorry, I think 2020 or 19, I discovered there is an app called for asexual app, which is called ACE app, ACEAPP, ACE app, for only asexual dating people. So I opened that app. The first time I opened that app, I felt relaxed. Like no people are pinging me, saying me, let's have some hanky panky at the mid of the night. Okay, the conversation are not starting with your body. The conversation are not starting with your dick size. Sorry, I might sound sometimes vulgar, but I am saying that this is the words of queer community. It is the word of the reality. So this thing used to be there. This thing is there in gay dating site. Like they're asking, what is your dick size? What is the color of your ash, or what is the color of your body? So like that way they're commodifying, that way they are productifying the body as a sexual product or commodity. The capitalism is doing that way. The patriarchy is doing that way. The patriarchy is simply commodifying your body as a sexual product, a sexual commodity. So that is very over there over all those apps. So when I opened that ASAP, there's no such people who have asked like, okay, let's have this hanky panky, because people are not sexually interested in me, and I feel very happy. I have lots of friends over there from all of the countries around the world, from Turkey to from Argentina to India to Bangladesh. I feel like I am with my tribe. So this is a kind of journey for me to discover my sexuality. But on the other hand, I am having a different journey to discover my gender identity as well. As you can see, I'm not a cisgender person. I am a gender fluid, non-binary trans person. So again, to discover my trans identity is also a journey. I started as a cisgender person, used to think I'm a masculine, like cisgender person. Then I felt, no, I'm not a cisgender. What I am, I felt like I am a gender fluid. My gender identity is fluid very much. Then I realized, no, I like to be much more in non-binary, not believing in the binary system, and then be gender fluid. So that's how I comes under the trans spectrum. Again, that is having our own journey and experiences to fight against this heteronormativity in this society, which is very much caste-based. Back to you, Fatima.
Thank you. Thank you. Now over to Gautam.
Yes. So, yeah, Satoshi,
Yes.
we'll just go to some academic part of it. So, anthropology, how did this interest come upon, like, to study about social structure and culture of India? So, what's the interest?
Well, just
Yeah.
give me few minutes. I think I am having 6% in my battery. So can you give me just 2 to 3
Okay,
minutes
okay.
so that I can एक minute. Just
Yeah,
give me
sure.
1
Yes,
minute.
take you.
Put me my mobile in charge. Yeah. Okay. Am I visible? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yes,
I need to. Can you repeat the question again?
I just asked like, what interests you in anthropology? Like, how did you, get into that stream, and how has it been academic wise?
Well, being an anthropologist, that journey is also having some stories, because in our society we don't know about much more about anthropology. Like in this middle class, being a middle class person, your family also always giving thoughts in your mind like I've been telling it in Hindi. Later I will explain in English as well, translating in English. That is, बड़ा होके मेरा बेटा डॉक्टर या इंजीनियर बनेगा. So that means, like my child will be a doctor or engineer when he'll grow up, or she will grow up. The thing is, this kind of thought we used to have in our mind. So that way, my family raised me as well. But what can they do? The child is not interested to be like doctor or an engineer. Much more being interested in academicians or activists, or later in doctorate. So when I completed my 10+2, I entered in a like West Bengal famous engineering college in chemical engineering. I went there for 1 month and I didn't like chemistry that much. The mathematical chemistry, not the personal chemistry. Okay. So I quit chemical engineering. Then I went to a famous college in Kolkata, that is Surendranath College, in physiology department, as I used to very much fond about physiology. I realized, no, I am not born and brought up for this subject. After 1 month, I again quit. Then in that academic year, I didn't have much more choice to explore other subjects from other universities or colleges. So what I have done, I just enrolled my name in my nearest hometown college. So there is only anthropology was there left, which is vacant seats over there, which I was having vacant seats. Other than that, there was zoology and botany. I'm not interested in zoology and least interested in botany, because I can't see I can't talk with plants. I can't relate my soul with their soul. So I'm not into that. So what I have done, I just Google what anthropology is, and then on the very other day, next day, I went to the college and enrolled myself and go into the class. Then when I googled about anthropology, then I get to know, oh, this is talking about biology, talking about genetics, then talking about osteology, then skeleton system, then archaeology, then talking about ancient civilization, prehistoric culture, lots of fascinating things. That is the part of anthropology, the biological anthropology and the archaeological anthropology. The problem at that time, I didn't know that is there is a part called social anthropology. When I went to the class and they're saying, okay, this is the definition of marriage, this is the definition of tribe, this is called culture, this is called society. I thought, what the hell? Do you need to study these things? कौन पढ़ता है सब? Like my reaction was that, कौन पढ़ता है? Who read those things? Like we know this is marriage. Do you need to learn what is the definition and what is the concept of marriage? So that is the first mindset. And at that time I used to think I would like to be a biological anthropologist or physical anthropologist, not to a social anthropologist. But I don't know what happened with me when I went to Delhi, in Delhi University, and I completely changed my stream from biological anthropology to social cultural anthropology, and more indulging myself into society, culture, and everything. So the more I have read culture and society, the more I think I relate myself. I think we need to know the social sciences, because without knowing social sciences, we cannot see the bricks behind those house, behind those structure, behind those establishment of society and culture. I believe a physicist or a chemistry person or a mathematician cannot understand what is society, cannot understand what is culture. To understand the culture, to understand the interline structure of the culture, we need to learn social sciences. That's why we can understand. So that's how my journey developed. And when I went to Delhi, I opted a paper called Gender and Society. And that time I discovered myself. I relate myself more and more to society, more and more to education. And that cultivated my interest towards gender and sexuality, because the more I realized myself, the more I felt I need to learn myself. I need to know myself. And to know myself, that thrust of knowledge give me or forced me or encouraged me to be a social anthropologist, a queer anthropologist, because that is the way I am researching my community. I am researching myself to see the social cultural phenomena regarding queer people or gender sexual marginalized people, because we need to understand them. And anthropology is a study of mankind. I should not say mankind, because that is very much misogynistic word. I should say humankind, or Homo sapiens kind. For the entire Homo sapiens to look their culture, to look their biology, to look their society, everything we need to study. So anthropology can only give the valuable space to understand, because it is having everything. It is having social sciences, it is having biological sciences, it is having everything. Like wherever there is the people, like there is human, there is anthropology. It is started with the pain and end with the like that NASA or like Sputnik or that astronauts or cosmonauts. It's there everywhere. So that's it.
Okay. And so since you were telling about Delhi, so share some experience about like your first day in the university, or like how it was for a visibly queer person. I hope like once you moved to Delhi, you were quite visibly queer. How was the campus experience? We are sure that it's a very liberal space when we see from the south, like the Delhi University. So how's the student body there? Like how they, how's the environment around when someone is visibly queer and they're like doing some, research in, how's that?
Well, before giving that answer, I want to say one thing. Have you ever been any kind of Durga Puja in Bengal or any part of India? Pandal? Have you ever been?
We've just seen it like in movies. I've never much traveled.
Okay. I think in Kerala there can be other kind of pandals over there for or any other part of India there can be pandals for any kind of rituals or lightings. Okay, so like what we can see from the distance, we can see it is very beautiful, very beautifully decorated. The lights are, the pandals are, but when we are getting close those things, those halogen lights are giving like lots of problem to us. like it is giving problem, it is becoming very hot, it is having lots of problem, you can see that. So
Yeah.
the same thing with Delhi, I am saying.
Okay.
From outside or from distance, I can see that is very liberal place, very open-minded place. But although that have some restrictions, limitations, I should say, not restriction, limitations. Because being in India, even the JNU is not having that liberal place. Okay, so Delhi to dur ki baat. So, but it is
Okay.
much more liberal than other universities. JNU, DU is much more liberal than other universities. I can say that. So what happened? I entered in DU in 2017, and I was in closet at that time. But the moment I entered in that department, I saw one of my senior, who is who I think he's a gender, he or they are a gender fluid person, wearing a high heel and shorts with a top, high beard and high mustache, lipstick and bindi along with kajals and earrings, and I should say so-called feminine handbag. That was the first time I thought, what? Whoa, my gosh, like this. Because I went from a very orthodox place, and the day I I came over there, I saw these things. It was a huge cultural shock for me. So, but eventually, I understood. Oh, that means these people are accepting us. Again, that was a hypothetical. That was a utopian thought. The moment I came out in 2018, I came out to my friend zone in my batch. Some of my batchmates like grabbed my hand and forced me to use transgender toilet. At that moment, I didn't came out my gender identity, what my gender. I haven't told them what is my gender. Rather, I have told them that I am a homosexual person at that time. So being a homosexual, they forced me. Being cisgender, they have forced me to use transgender toilet because I am a person who likes the same gender. So again, that is stigma. Again, that is oppression. Again, that is oppression to trans community, oppression to other queer community. I'm not saying that I'm not comfortable to use the transgender. Yes, I am comfortable to use transgender toilet right now. But at that moment, I haven't came out. So that moment, I was not comfortable to use that toilet. Rather, I was comfortable to use this gender toilet. Again, that was a dysphoria, that is oppression I suffered. Eventually, I overcome. In 2019, when I entered in that department as an MPhil scholar, again, I completely came out. I completely show my queer identity, my gender identity expression. So people are having gossiping behind me, in front of me as well. Teacher are asking about my sexual orientation identity, like वो तो पहले ऐसा नहीं था, अभी क्यों ऐसा बन गया? You can understand, like before he was not like that, why he is become like that. My point is, I always become like that. I always like these. The thing is, I'm not showed myself before, but right now I'm showing. I'm visible. Like people are laughing, looking at myself, like my femininity and masculinity triggering their masculinity, and my masculinity and femininity triggering their femininity. So this is the problem.
Yeah.
Okay. And the thing is, the moment I came out, before came out, I used to use Grindr in my department. And it was very good to find sexual, or to find, I should not say sexual date, I should say romantic date, because I used to use Grindr as for romantic date, not for sexual date. If someone is asking for doing hanky-panky, I used to block those person. My point is, no, I am okay to have a cup of coffee. Let's do that. And talk about like Marxism, talk about Heidelberg, talk about Berlin, talk about Second World War, like Mussolini, Hitler, all those things. Let's talk about that with a cup of coffee. So that was that. But I used to have people that time using Grindr, even in my department as well, in the students. The moment I show my non-binary transness, my androgyny, the moment I blocked by all of them in Grindr. Those people who used to talk in the department little bit with me, They're not talking right now, they're avoiding me. They're thinking, like, if they're talking with me, their discrete identity can be disclosed to others. That is their like fear. So my statement is, when you are in closet, you become the victim of patriarchy. But when you are in rainbow world, you become the threat to patriarchy. It is your choice to be the victim or to be the threat. But to be the threat, it is not easy to lead the life. It is having lots of problems.
Definitely.
You will be after your coming out, you will be tabooed by your own community. They'll make you isolated. You'll feel isolation. You'll not have many people with you to share your experiences at your low time. That is a problem. To more visible, to be activist, to show the world who you are. But my point is, love yourself. Love is the most of the greatest thing we are having. If you love ourselves, then fuck the society, fuck them all. I don't need anyone. If someone is asking, are you in a
Definitely.
relationship? I say, yes, I'm in a relationship with myself. I'm happy to be myself. Because it's me who is caring about me. That's it.
Yeah, that definitely is a wonderful feeling. And speaking about your thesis, like you had mentioned in one of the articles that it's about the Indian queer movement and about the Pride Parade and how, like, people voice out their like opinions from like the who gets to say, who gets to gatekeep what, all that. So a few words on that, please.
Well, queer movement does have its own history in the world context. Like in 1968, the first queer 69, I might be wrong. Kindly recheck that data again. I think it's 1969. The first Pride movement started in San Francisco after having a riot over Stone on Inn.
Yeah.
When the first bisexual trans woman, who is a sex worker, who is a black person, hit over the police to raise their voice against the police brutality or state brutality. That was the first foundation of queer movement. But before that, there are several movements that was called several pride marches, I should say marches, that is called as gay power or lesbian power. That was not as portrayed as queer power or queer march or queer pride. But after that, the LGBT movement has started. At the time, 1970s or 60s, queer term was a slang word. In English dictionary, it is called as strange. It is called as someone strange, mad, awkward, insane, this kind of thing. So it was based one of the best slang word for the homosexual or for the LGBTQ people at that time. But this word changed its meaning. As you know, the society is dynamic, the culture is dynamic, it is not static. So the word changed its meaning and become the word of pride. So I am proud myself that I am a queer. Proudly I can say that I am a queer. But in India, the queer movement started officially in 1999 with the Kolkata Friendship Walk. That is one of the ancient friendship walk and the first friendship walk in Asia as well. But then it has started 2001 in Kolkata, then all over the India, Delhi, and major cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, then Guwahati, then other cities like Hyderabad, then Chennai, then Coimbatore, then Shiki, like Gangtok, Guwahati, or Kanpur. Any Awadh queer pride was there. Single prides are there. But the thing is, this movement is having I believe, a root in our mythology as well, in our ancient civilization. See, the civilization, if I looking back to the time of Vedic period or pre-Vedic period, the civilization of Harappa Sindhu civilization, we don't know much more about regarding the queers about them. But after that, in Vedic time period, if you're looking at the mythological references, there's lots of mythological references in our Hindu mythology, like Vishnu get avatar of Mohini. That is a representation of trans woman. Okay, a gender changing things, or transness. Again, Shiva is having sex with Vishnu. Sorry if there is any Hindutva person, please don't tell me. I can show the references. So, and having sex with Vishnu, and Mohini gave a birth of Lord Ayappa. You know, Lord Ayappa is worshipped in Vindhyachal in South India. One of the greatest Lord, like Lord Venkateshwara. So Lord Ayappa is there. So in that same way, there is a relationship between Arjun and Krishna as well. Or even the Shikhandi. We know what Shikhandi is. We know, we can see Shikhandi as like as a warrior in Kurukshetra who killed Pitamaha Bhishma. Not like that. Shikhandi was a king. So you know, our intersex person was a king at that time in our mythology. So again, that is a part of our movement. It should be, because that is something which is querying which is querifying the literatures, or which is querifying the mythology. So again, coming from that, again, we can see in Mughal period, we can see lots of administrative people are queer. Like the story derived from the Alauddin Khilji, the Padmavat was talking about. Alauddin Khilji is a bisexual person. Again, that is there in our Islamic time period, in our India. Like, I should say India as not India, but Indian subcontinent, Pakistan, Afghanistan to Bangladesh. Okay, so but in modern time period, we are like, through this pandemic, we are having a shift. We are seeing a shift over this movement. Like, the movement is only not restricted in our social, in our real world, but it is expanded in our virtual world as well. Like right now, we are talking, we are discussing about queer things. We are querying this space, space called social space, the virtual space. That is also part of our queer movement, a new dimension of our queer movement. So, because we are not limiting ourselves in the real world, but also having our own virtual world. And this virtual world is having a great effect over our real world. Right now, if I am saying something which is queer phobic, something which is as phobic, something which is, if I say something which is LGBTQIA plus phobic, then the whole community can bash out over me, can file a case over me. So, you know, you can see the way this virtual platform will affect over my personal life. Or like, if I say something against the religious dogmatic people, right now, maybe there can be some threat toward my home. Like last year, as I'm an atheist person, so I put some picture where the picture came from Atheist Republic. You know, Atheist Republic, or biggest atheist forum in Facebook, recently, which is banned in India. Okay. Or I've posted their pictures, like where Muhammad was having sex with Lord Rama. Okay, for me, these mythological figures are just like a fictional character, creation of culture. So that way, I like to create my fictional characters. So what happened last year? Both the dogmatic people from Islam as well as Hindutva gave me life threat. When I have posted the pictures of Charlie Hebdo last time and supported Joshua Charlie, then again religious dogmatic people from West Bengal and Bangladesh threatened me. Why I am talking against Islam that time? Okay. Then again this time, when Charlie Hebdo posted another pictures where we can see like 300 crores of the people are dying, not a single god is helping, while we are having 300 crores god in our mythology. I posted that pictures in my WhatsApp and in my Facebook. People bashed out over me. People give me like threat. So you can understand the point. But the thing is, movement will never stop. boys will never stop. You can kill one Shaptorshi. You can kill a person who is having a physical body. You can kill the knowledge. You can kill the mental. That will be there. It's like the capitalist people killed Che Guevara, but we are having Che Guevara in our blood. We are having Bhagat Singh in our blood. So we are having Khudiram Bose in our blood. The person who made from Hindu mythology the five element, made from that five element, but the knowledge hasn't.
Yes, yeah, this is
Long
not
the society will
minute,
be
but
there, that long it will be there. That's how the movement is there. Because movement has, even I do believe that everyone is activist. Those who are in closet, those who are not in closet, they are also activists. Because when the society is heteronormative, caste-based heteronormative, Brahminical heteronormative, everyone is suffering. Everyone is suffering. A minority might be a Muslim, might be a Jews, might be a Christian, might be a Hindu as well, might be a atheist as well, might be a gender sexual marginalized as well. They are suffering from the Brahminized fascism, Brahminized heterosexuality. Because Hinduism is a different thing rather than Hindutva, which we are seeing right now. That is fundamentalism. That is called Hindutva. As we can see it in the same thing in Bangladesh and Pakistan, fundamentalism of Islam. It is having the dimension is
Yeah.
different regarding the movement. That's it. If I talk about Bangladesh movement, you know what happened in 2016, or sorry, 2014, the first Dhaka Queer Pride movement happened, and that was led by Juhas Manna and Tanay. What happened in 2016? They are assassinated by the Islamic dogmatists there, fundamentalists there in Bangladesh, and Al Qaeda took all the responsibility that they have killed. Because, and Jamaat has told that these are not part of our religion, so we are not supporting them to live in our country. So the queer movement got in a neo-colonial trap of fundamentalism. Okay. See, please don't tag me as an Islamophobist. I'm not an Islamophobist. I'm respecting all the religion. But I'm saying the brutal truth what is happening over the society. Okay, so that is happening. But movement never stopped. Through using social media, the people from the Bangladesh having Dhaka Queer Pride again this year in 4th of June using the Facebook page. So you can see pride
Okay.
might not be there in real world, but pride is there in virtual world. So the thing is, you can kill me, you can kill me, you can rape me, or you can whatever. I should not say you can do that. I'm saying you are able to do
Yeah.
that because you are having the power, you are practicing, you are using that power. But what you can't do, you cannot raise my voice, you cannot suppress my voice. I will talk like a phoenix. That's it. Like you can burn me, but I will rise again from the ashes and eat the patriarchy and the man again and again. That's it.
Yes, that's very provoking and
Sorry,
wonderful
I'm
of you
unable
to
to
say all
hear.
that. Can you hear us?
Network problem. Can I
We can
rejoin,
hear
start
you.
and rejoin again? Maybe it can do. I cannot hear any of you.
Yes, probably
So
could
let me
rejoin.
cut it and rejoin it again.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So it's almost end of our session, and probably once Saptarishi rejoins, we'll just wrap up with some final set of questions. So let's just wait until then, until they come back.
Did you send a request to him again?
Yeah, I did. says unable to join.
Okay. Can you try sending an invite?
Yeah, I did just.
Yeah.
It's back.
Okay.
Still network
Great.
also was
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah. I hope you can hear us now.
Again, I think I do have again network issues regarding hearing. Let me fix my network again. Just give me 2 more seconds.
Okay.
Now I can hear you.
Your voice is little.
Now I can hear you.
Yeah.
Yes, perfect. Yes. So over to you, Shushantika.
Yeah.
Any final question?
Yeah, thank you. So, what suggestions do you have for an inclusive curriculum in India?
Well, we already have an inclusive judgment. It was a historic judgment, like Madras High Court gave us. So we should go with that as well. Like we should start with as our foundation. Like we need to include LGBTQ studies, LGBTQ. I should say queer studies, because queer sounds like much more inclusive rather LGBTQIA plus, because queer is having all of them. I believe that's how the queer revolution works. That is queer. So we need to include these queer studies in Anganwadi level, I should say. Because if you're saying or if you're telling your children about those things in primary school, if you're talking about these things to the children, it will affect to the parents as well. Okay, so like if the government will not do this, then there will not be, because in private school you cannot do this. If you are doing this, maybe the orthodox parents will not their children to the private school, so then that will be the problematic. But if the government is doing this, then they have to bound to these things, they have to accept that things, direct or indirect way. That is one more thing, like you need to. And the thing is, one more thing I want to say, like to the people, when the people are saying these are not our culture, the kissing in public, these are not our culture, then what is our culture? Peeing in public, raping in public, molesting in public, bashing out in public, giving slang in public. Oh my God, that's it. That is the brutal part of Indian culture. Masculinity is a part of Indian culture. Sorry, toxic masculinity is part of Indian culture. Or I should say, like, please don't angry over me. I'm saying, then I should say that molestation is a part of Indian culture. Or like rape is an Indian culture. If you are not saying that love is not an Indian culture. If a child is seeing that the personas are kissing, what the child will learn? The child will learn how to do love. What is the problem? You should ask, if the child is seeing a person is peeing on road, then what will the child will learn? The child will learn to pee on the public. That is the problem. But if the child is saying two people are holding, two same-sex people are holding their love, or non-binary people or gender-fluid people are roaming around in the public like me, what they learn? They learn to be inclusive. They learn to be modernized. They learn to be civilized. They learn to be a better human. So how it will happen? It will happen from all these basic root we need to understand. We need to educate the family. How? Of course, NGOs should do done that, but not only that. Institution like these Anganwadis, like these private schools or primary schools or government schools should do that like that way, including those LGBTQ curriculum things in their curriculum. Not only that, again, one more thing I have seen, state looks the transgender people from the binary aspect. In the glance of state, the state thinks like that trans are only limited into trans man and trans woman. That is not the truth. Transgender is a spectrum. A non-binary, gender fluid, agender, non-gender, gender non-conforming, all of them are the part of trans spectrum. So you need to make your existing policies like Gorima Griha or transgender shelter home may need to make it more inclusive for the other people, other queer people. Not limiting yourself for only the transgender shelter home. You need to usually to extend your hands toward other queer shelter home as well. Like a cisgender person who is gay or who is lesbian, if they come out to their family, they might kicked out from their family. Then where they will go? Then again, one more thing is my point of view. I have seen lots of trans activists, so-called trans activists in West Bengal, are very much trans exclusionary. So I always tell the new word which I invented, that is, that is TARF, trans exclusionary radical feminists. We have heard about that.
Yeah.
But I feel there are people who called as trans exclusionary radical binary transgender activists or binary transgender. They're excluding all these other trans spectrum. They're only limiting in themselves in man to woman or woman to man. So things should be cured with mass sensitizing, and that should be done by this kind of talks. Of course, posters. We should start it from our own core areas, like that. I am visible. I came out to my family and public. So I would like to take that step to sensitize those things, because I am not having the fear to be beaten by someone. So just like you, those who already came out, they should take this initiative to talk about their surroundings. It's like a snowball sampling. You can, like Hindi, like there is a sentence in Hindi that is called bindu bindu se sindh hota hai, or in Bengali bindu bindu theke samudra hoy. That means from the single drop of water, there will be a huge ocean. So we need to be that single drop of water. That's it.
That's lovely. And over to you, Shushantika.
Yes, so thank you very, very much for coming today and answering all of our questions very patiently. We had a insightful and wonderful session today. Thank you for that.
And thank you people as well. Like thank you to Queer Bature and PSG and then Garlap. Like the first time, I think Kirti came to me and asked me, let's come for a discussion regarding that. I told, yes, of course, I would like to have that. Again, we all are having work in our own collective, as I know that you know that very well. I was doing work, then after that I came, I completely packed up from 3 o'clock to right now. He was there, I think, today.
Oh,
thank you. Thank you very much.
And I'm thankful thank you to you people that you have organized these things. You are doing great job in your section. I'm fond about your work. Thanks a lot to give this space to reach out to my South Indian fellows.
That's very kind of you to say, Saptareshi. So next week we'll be having live with Shankari from Nirangan. Stay tuned and follow our Instagram spaces for updates for the next live. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Yes. Bye. Thank you for being here.